So far away, Nisha. Slender Man?
Yeah, the Slender Man.
The Slenderman. So far away, Nisha, you're not often on Wiki weekends, but when you are, it's solid fucking gold. Cue that clip from the Disney episode where we're talking about Pooh slapping a child. In 1978, it was alleged that an employee who was playing Winnie the Pooh slapped a child.
Yeah, that was my first Wiki Weekends, and I feel like that was it. That was like top tier.
It was,
and
so...
I'm not going to be able to match that.
And Nisha, you've graced us with your presence on this series once again, so what are we talking about?
So I picked Slenderman.
Slenderman, and
yes.
I know nothing about Slenderman besides just this stuff that has permeated throughout pop culture. I never really got into it, I never played the game, I never followed the mythos, or was it Marble Hornets was the originator, or the thing that popularised it? Did you do any of that stuff?
Yeah, so I picked Slenderman because Slenderman was the first game I watched, you know, when gaming YouTubers started becoming a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was the first game I watched reactions to.
Okay.
Because I saw people posting about it on Facebook, and I was like, I don't want to play it because I'm not good at playing scary games. So I was like, I'd rather watch someone else play it, and just decided to type it in YouTube and come across a couple of people, including Markiplier, playing Slenderman.
Oh man, isn't like one of your very minor claims to fame the fact that you were one of his very earliest subscribers?
I think I subscribed and he had like 10,000 subscribers.
There it is.
I wouldn't say it was a claim to fame, it's just like
it's one of those things like, you're one of like the earliest people to have subscribed to his channel. I just thought that was quite interesting.
Although you might be thinking of the other YouTuber that I watched play Slenderman, which was Storpey.
Okay.
And me and Brad did some editing for him.
Okay, there we go.
We did like some compilations of Five Nights at Freddy's for him.
I think he's gone, but just to be sure. Ooh, rabbit. Okay, now I think we're fine. Sorry, I did it myself.
Well, I'll tell you what, links to those compilations can be found below, because, you know, that's more work from editors. And if you want to hire Nisha or Brad to do compilations for your own channel, you can contact them at the social media links below. God, I'm so good at business. Anyway, Slenderman. We're referring specifically to the Slender Man Wiki, a link to which you can find below alongside all other stuff. And there's a picture of him here, and I'm just going to put it out there, it is a boring fucking character. It is such a poor design for a character. I don't know how it got as popular as it did. It is just a tall guy with tentacles.
I think it's because like the Slenderman games, they weren't high quality anyway. So it was just easy, I think, probably to render a simple model like that. So what you have to do is basically collect 8 pages in the woods, and the more pages you get, the more aggressive he gets because he follows you.
Oh, okay. It's one of those games.
He will just be behind you, like, and you turn around and your screen will go fuzzy when he's nearby, and he's just stood there.
Ah, get around the tree. Double lady. What? Where? Ah! How do you get there? No!
Right, I'll be honest. Right, if I saw that in a forest, maybe my opinion on how bad the designers had changed. Because if I went to a forest and saw a guy in a suit, not necessarily with tentacles and a blank face, just a suit, I'm like, the fuck is this? This is either a wedding photography party and he's lost, or he's a serial killer. Anyway, we have here some aliases for Slenderman. Is it Slenderman or Slenderman?
I say Slenderman.
I'm going to say Slenderman because it sounds funny, but we have here some aliases for him. So pads and pencils at the ready for your potential band names, folks at home. Names: Slenderman, the Tall Man, the Thin Man, the Schlacken Man, Theodubber, Schlankenwald, Slendy, Slendyman, the Pale One, the White King, Master, and finally, Black King.
Slendy.
Slendy. Yeah, I used to call him Slenderman. And then we have here Identity, Unknown Being. And the origins is a guy called Victor Surge in the Something Awful forums. And this is the one thing I do know about Slenderman, and it is that it was started as like a piss take on a forum ages ago, and it just took off from there.
So I've seen the Marble Hornets stuff.
Which was built out of that. It's like this entire mythos is built around this one guy just trolling on a forum like a decade or so ago. And that's incredible. That's a commitment to the bit. We have here a description of Slenderman. For people who maybe don't know much about the character like myself. So, the Slender Man, also known as Slenderman, is a supernatural creature with nebulously defined characteristics and abilities, meaning that writers can do whatever the fuck they want with him. Slenderman was first mentioned in the Something Awful forums thread, Create Paranormal Images. So I think his origins was a Photoshop with a backstory that someone made up, and that's ace.
Yeah, because I think there's like a picture of like kids in like a playground or something like that, and he's in the background.
Yeah, seen behind us now. The first appearance of Slenderman on the internet. He generally appears in modern times as a tall humanoid creature in a black or grey suit, a red or black tie, and a white shirt. His face is totally white, completely devoid of all facial features. He has no hair and generally has normal-looking bare hands, albeit with fingers that are longer and bonier than a typical human being. And that, for me, is one of the details about monsters that really unnerves me. I don't like it. I do not like creatures with unnaturally long or elongated limbs and fingers. Basically the creature from Wreck. And I will use any opportunity I can to bring up the fact that the creature from Wreck is a real guy in a suit. And it's fucking terrifying. And the film Wreck is great, and I highly recommend anyone go watch it. It's super fun. But that reminds me of that legendary Tumblr post someone did. And do you know those weird balls that you get, that you put in water, and they disappear?
I think so, yeah.
And everyone out there has probably seen a GIF of those things in action. And there's this legendary Tumblr response to it. I want to get this material and I want to make a humanoid figure out of it with slightly elongated fingers and put it at the bottom of a swimming pool. I do not like being in open water, and that fucking freaks me out every time I think about it. I don't like it. Slenderman has been depicted in imagery and literature at anywhere between 6 and 15 feet tall, depending on who he's trying to impress on Tinder. Though in video, he's usually only around 6 or 7 feet tall, because that's how tall you can get actors in crappy YouTube videos to be. Because of his inexact nature and indifferences between accounts, no one has yet determined what exactly the Slenderman is. Currently, there are two leading theories as to what the Slenderman may be: the Tulpa effect and quantum theory. Like I said, this thing started as a joke on a forum, and it has like an entire mythos built around it. It says here, speaking of which, the internet popularity of Slenderman has spawned a massive number of interconnected ARGs, collectively known as the Slenderman mythos. Or mythos, because mythos sounds cooler.
Mythos sounds good.
It does, yes. Slenderman mythos, I love that. That's a band name for you there at home. And then we have a basic description of the Slenderman. In almost every description of the Slenderman, his attributes will vary, sometimes greatly. However, his basic appearance and traits are relatively consistent across different accounts. His appearance has changed over the years, but the most common image, and the most well-known one in media, is that of an abnormally tall man with long arms and a totally blank face. I think we've all met that guy at the club, haven't we? Just the guy,
blank face.
The guy who's just had a little bit too much. Usually it was me. Like the tall, gangly, pale dude at the back of the club, not moving. Because should we bring up that picture of me in a morph suit?
Yeah.
Well, I look like the fucking ladder man. I'm like, eh. He is usually portrayed as wearing a business suit, which is why I don't think he's cool. Because the business suit is too modern. It's too obvious that it's just a dude in a costume. So when you see people cosplaying it or doing the videos, it's so obviously a guy in a morph suit and a suit.
What else could he wear?
I think it'd be scary if it was just a fucking
tracksuit.
Just don't wear clothing. Monsters don't generally wear clothes. He is usually portrayed wearing a business suit, which may be either real cloth or some form of skin moulded on to take the appearance of cloth. If the former, this would imply an intelligent being attempting to blend in. He's got no face.
Blend in.
If he was trying to blend in, he'd have a face. If it is the latter, it suggests an extremely adaptive being that evolves to match its environment. Again, he has no face. And as well, he's wearing a tie. He's wearing a tie in a park or the woods. You know that shit would stand out anywhere. He behaves in what might be seen as a passive-aggressive manner, often stalking targets for years at a time before ever attacking. See, that's scary. That's fucking scary.
Yeah.
That shit freaks me the fuck out. That's why one of the scariest films ever is It Follows.
I think I have seen that, yeah.
It's fucking terrifying. It's just because every single scene, you'd keep your eye on the background and you'll see people constantly in the background walking towards the main character and you're like, is that the monster? It could be the monster. And chances are it is the monster. It's always the monster, and it's fucking. I hate that film so much. It's the most anxiety-inducing thing I've ever watched because every single scene where someone's just in the background walking towards them, it's like, Look behind you, moron, run away. It is understood that he tends to torture his targets mentally over long periods of time, using fear and paranoia to drive them to insanity. No one has ever satisfactorily explained the reasoning behind his tactics or the way he chooses his victims, which is good. We've talked before many times, haven't we, Nisha? The best way to make a monster scary, don't explain it.
Yeah.
If you
keep it a mystery, because that's what's terrifying.
Yeah, because your imagination will fill in the blanks, and most people's imagination will imagine the worst, because that's what people do. That's what people are like. We always imagine the worst. No one ever imagines the best. But it says here that his purposes or motivations are yet to be fully ascertained. He is rarely, if ever, portrayed in a good or benign light, and is generally understood to be a malevolent force. He is a mystery. He looks human, but doesn't act like one. It is uncertain if he's a social creature or if he even understands human languages or behaviours, or why humans appear to be his primary targets at all. It is sometimes seems if he's capable of possessing his targets in some cases. Slenderman's mere appearance provokes fear. This is partially due to his towering height and overall unnerving appearance. Yeah, he's wearing a tie. I don't trust people who wear ties in casual situations.
Like, does he understand humans? And, being social and stuff. I mean, he manages to put on a tie. Like, he has some sort of understanding of getting dressed.
Then again, Donkey Kong can tie a tie.
Oh.
And he's a fucking giant gorilla who just hoards bananas. It says here that in almost every contemporary description, the Slenderman is associated with stalking, often for extremely long periods. It is not unusual for a person to be trailed by the Slenderman for hours, days, months, or even years. However, he usually appears when least expected and when the victim is alone and most comfortable, i.e. home, school, work, outdoors, along trusted roads, etc. That's just everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere.
Like, if you say home, school, work, and then outdoors, that's everywhere. Where else is there but home, school, and outdoors, and work?
Obviously, the main game is set in the woods, but then they did more games where it was set in schools and like asylums and stuff like that. And they were pretty creepy.
I think no good stuff has ever happened at an asylum, especially an abandoned one that's in the dark. So, where's the spookiest, scariest place you've been? Because I know mine, and it was an abandoned factory when I was younger, where we'd go to throw stones, because that's what you do when you're a kid who grows up on a council estate and you don't have many toys, or a bike. You go to places and you throw rocks at things, and we went to an abandoned factory, and there were homeless people living there that we didn't know.
God.
So just imagine it's like, you're sneaking into a place and you just hear random people saying, "Get out of here now!"
Jesus.
You fucking like it. You run, you haul ass.
See, I know if I go into places like that, I'll just be shit scared the entire time, so I just avoid them.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was younger, we went on a school trip to this museum.
Okay.
And we went in the basement area, because we went on a tour. We went in this basement area, and people kept saying I don't know if they were lying just to freak me out, but other kids were telling me they could feel something touching their arm.
Oh, God.
And I was like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
I hate this so much. I'm scared of basements because I don't like spiders and I'm quite tall. And I have had the thing of going into a basement, ducking under a cobweb, and then a spider ran down the back of my shirt.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I don't like basements for that reason. And I think the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, it happened by proxy, and it was just a story told by my mum when she was in tears. And I think I've told it on the channel before, but I'll tell you because this is a fucking true story. I don't know if what happened is real, but it's a true story. My mum fucking told me. She believed it happened to her. It was after my grandmother passed away and my sister was born. The very first time my mum brought my sister into the house, all the lights started going fucking apeshit. And my mum just was in hysterics saying, "It's my mum, I know it's my mum." And my sister's dad just shouted out, "Tammy, you're scaring your daughter." Tammy not being his name that he called my grandmother, and the light stopped.
Oh my God.
And my mum fucking I don't believe it.
That's giving me
I
chills.
I don't believe it's spooky ghosts, but I believe that my grandma might have come back to haunt us. Anyway, abilities. And we have here a main page that just says abilities of the Slenderman. So do you want to go on to that, or do you want to just cover the brief description of the abilities, Nisha? You can guide us on our journey through the Slenderman.
Yeah, I can talk about his original abilities.
Okay, abilities of the Slenderman. So it's going to take a moment to load up here. This page gives a detailed list of all the traits and abilities shown by the Slenderman. So, slender walking, one of Slenderman's most infamous abilities. Slender walking is the ability of the Slenderman that allows him to appear and disappear at will, granting him omnipresent-like movement.
Just slender walking.
Just it's called Slender Walk, which makes it sound so fucking lame. Camouflage. This ability of the Slenderman to disguise itself as one of its more important traits. The most well-known camouflage is that of the contemporary suit-wearing Slenderman. How is that a disguise? He looks so out of place and suspicious.
Oh, that's the picture, I think, blending in at the park, apparently.
He's not blending in. You can clearly tell that he's there. He looks like a bad Photoshop. How is that blending in? Mind control. See, this is scary.
Wait, what?
The loose definition of mind control is utilised and assured by many series across the mythos and perpetuated in blogs and video series. Exactly what this mind control entails is extremely loose and poorly defined, almost like the people writing it are idiots on the internet. Impersonation. Rarely seen in the contemporary mythos, early mythos accounts show that Slenderman's ability to impersonate or mimic the voice or tone of a person in order to get to the victim.
Oh.
See, that's scary. Because that reminds me of, like, the film Annihilation, I think it is, where you have the bear monster. That is, like, a composite of, like, humans who are, like, in agony inside a bear. And when the bear roars, you can hear inside it someone screaming for help, like, please help me.
Oh my god. That's terrifying.
And then you have another one, the game Until Dawn, when the monsters in that can mimic other people. And there's a part in the game where you hear someone shouting for help and you open it up and you just get killed by a fucking Wendigo. Wendigos come and get you.
Also in the SCP Containment Breach game, there is a monster that does the same thing as well.
Oh,
like,
God.
it sounds like a guy saying, who's there?
Are we ever going to cover that, Wiki?
We could do.
Well, that's the thing, because I don't know anything about it, but if you do, we can, because that's the general rule for Wiki Weekends. Like, someone needs to have at least a passing familiarity with it so we can talk about it with some degree of confidence. But anyway, we move on. Tentacles and tendrils. Another of his famous abilities, Slenderman's human-like appearance often disintegrates from the appearance of his tentacles or limbs, also referred to as tendrils. Tendrils. Selective visibility. One of the more enduring traits of Slenderman is the selective visibility. The Slenderman potentially has the ability to choose who sees him and when. That's a neat power for a monster. It says here that he often uses it to only appear in photographs taken by specific individuals, which is fucking like horrifying.
So weird.
That's another trope I hate in horror movies, and it's people looking at old photos and just seeing something creepy in the background. Pyrokinesis, what? Johnny Storm?
What?
Early mythos and some ARGs have strong connection between Slenderman and fire. In the original mythos, almost all Slenderman visitations are accompanied by fire, either during or after. He may be able to use pyrokinesis, which is the ability to move or control fire with one's mind.
What the hell?
Telekinesis. Slenderman possesses the ability to move objects with his minds.
What?
So he can move objects and fire. Mutilation. A common early trait of Slenderman was that of body mutilation. A common procedure would be the discovery of a missing person's body impaled upon a tree.
Ooh.
Is that a power, or is that just how he kills you?
That's the thing, you don't know how he kills you, because when you're going around the woods collecting pages and he captures you, the screen just goes fuzzy. You just see his face appear and then it goes to black. So you don't actually know how he kills you.
But it says here, like, it's not a power to murk someone with a tree. That's just killing them with a tree. Virokinesis. That's fucking awesome sounding. In several series, characters in contact with or in some relationship with the Slenderman may come under sickness. The sickness causes coughing, bleeding from the mouth, nose, eyes, vomiting, disorientation, potential blackouts, and potentially fevers.
Down with the sickness.
Like, ooh, and that's how you know Zack Snyder's a fucking hack, because in the Dawn of the Dead thing, what do they play at the end of the credits? Down with the sickness. Weather/day control. The weatherman, the Slenderman can control the weather.
The weatherman.
And cause ambient weather features such as fog, rain, or a storm. Telepathy. Slenderman's presence causes several negative effects on the minds of his victims, including inhibiting memory, while also adding memories, so memory alteration, altering sense and perception of a person's environment, and influencing a person's personality in a very negative way, inducing things like paranoia and nightmares. Pain reduction, prolonging death. Oh no.
Oh no.
You don't need this. He's already scary. It's believed that Slenderman can reduce pain in a human. In the Can You See My Words entry, Johnny mentioned that it was a way of Slenderman that was still alive and typed despite Happiest torture. What? I think the person who wrote this just, similarly just didn't have a good day, but I think what they're trying to say is that he makes you feel less pain so he can torture you for longer.
Oh my god.
Slender sense. We Spider-Man now. Despite lacking facial features, Slenderman can detect and sense when his victims are near at all times. And that's the end of it.
Oh my god.
That's the powers and abilities of the Slenderman. Nisha, Slenderman. That's a fun one.
Oh god, yeah, I learned some things about Slenderman.
So did I. I learned that he's everywhere. I also learned that the people who write about him are really, really fucking poor at keeping a consistent mythos about the character, which is awesome because it means you've got a bunch of dumb stuff. Like, he causes virokinesis, like he's Alex Mercer or some shit. Gotta love it.